Hello, this is Robin from Access LARP, and I am talking to Haplocke, who is both a LARPer and a BSL interpreter, and acts as a BSL interpreter at the British Fest LARP Empire. And Hap is going to help us learn or demonstrate some signs which might be of use to us within the LARP community. Obviously, this is in BSL, but so for anybody who's watching who uses a different type of sign language, it might provide some inspiration and adaptations for your sign language. And I think we'll start. Haplocke, would you mind sort of just explaining the peculiarities of signs for LARP for us?
Sure. Like Robin said, I do British Sign Language, but with LARP, because we use a lot of words sometimes in LARP that have an outer character and a real life meaning, but they mean something different. Some of the signs then, we can't use the exact same sign as the word. We have to create something new or use a different sign that's existing. And also a lot of these signs are literally made up by, well, me, because this is the first time that we've seen kind of BSL users at LARP. So I'm the person that I signed for. We have just sat down one day. For example, in Empire, there's in the game, there's lots of different lineages which are kind of give these different non-human looks and things, and they all have words that are real words. But
just about, yeah.
Huh?
They're very unusual words, though.
Oh, and the words are, fantastical or a bit whatever. And so we've just literally made up some signs for them. So that will happen a lot, probably in LARP, because it's a
made up.
It's often it has fantastical elements. And
yeah, that's cool. We might at the end just take a look at a couple of those sort of made up words just for fun. But generally, I want to look at more. I want to say universal words, but I know that terms aren't universal throughout LARP. So I've tried to pick words which I think are fairly well accepted, at least throughout the UK, and as far as I'm aware, in the US as well. And if not exactly those terms, they should be recognizable and comparable to whichever specific terms that your home systems use. So I'm going to keep the camera on you. And let's so the sort of the place to start seemed to be the term time in, which is a call used to start a game, and it delineates the time between out of character and real world and when the game starts, and everything after that call of time in is now in game and in character. So can you show us how you sign time in, and maybe explain it to us if it's not a transliteration?
So I will explain a little bit. No, I'll just right. So the sign that I would sign for time in, I have received these words way in advance, and I'm still kind of dithering about what I'm signing for it. But
that's okay.
A new word. Okay, so I probably sign time in. Okay, so what I'm actually signing is time. This is a sign for time. So you're tapping like your watch. Yeah. And then this, which is your like a good thumb, down your palm like this. And this actually means start.
Okay.
Start is what I'm signing.
The time start.
But because we know that time in was probably created, dozens of years ago in the LARP community, and now we all know it means the start. But time in as a phrase is a bit funny if you've never heard it before. And so time, we wouldn't sign in because this is time for in out, and it doesn't mean anything because it's a preposition, So time start, is what I would sign. So time in.
Time start.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Because as you say, it is a term which makes particular sense if you already LARP.
Yeah.
But when you stop to think about it, it's a bit weird. Which leads us on to its partner, which is similarly odd, which is the end of a game or the end of an in-character session, which is time out.
Sure. So time out. We'll do time again. Time. I'm going to do this. Out. So time out. And this kind of means like finished or like done. There is another sign for finish. But I'm choosing this one because it's a bit more like bam, like done. Is the bag on the video gonna? But yeah, it's just you swipe your hands out, and it's that kind of like it's very natural body language. It's a bit like no, I'm done. It's a bit like that. So time out, and it's a bigger sign than sort of finish.
It makes it very clear.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's better. So time out. So
we've got time start and time out.
Yeah.
Okay. This is good. I am learning these as we go. I've not learned these before, so I'm hoping to include these in future games I run as well. So a term which is often used when there is an out of character injury, an out of character first aid incident, and we need to temporarily pause the game or pause action in that area. So it might only stop time on a battlefield, whereas everybody else carries on playing, and it indicates that somebody is out of character injured and probably needs either a referee or a first aider, and that term is man down.
Man down. So the reason that sorry, I'm waffling if I do this time. And so the reason that we say man down is because it's very obviously not an in-character thing that you could be saying, right? That's
I'd say that's debatable. I find it confusing enough sometimes in spoken English. So
yeah. But I think it's one of those things that, at least in the LARP community, when we hear it, you're like, that's definitely no one saying that in character.
Yeah.
So to reflect the kind of immersion breakingness of it, I would do something in sign that's similarly kind of it is as visually like as that is sort of auditorily orally. So I would make something up basically that's really clear. So I would do something like just stick your hand straight up, or even two hands up, just something really, you can't see the top of my hands, but they're straight up. Just something visually very, it doesn't even need to mean like man down.
It's just it's an attention grabbing.
Absolutely attention grabbing, because that's what the phrase, whatever we've chosen, as LARP community, we've come to all over the years this phrase man down. But I certainly, when I hear it, my heart goes a bit like, oh my gosh, everyone's right. So we just want something visually that gives that kind of effect.
It's an alarm call, really, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And things like, you can sign man and then down because it's what like a man kind of falling over, but that's not visually, you're signing the words, but it doesn't give it, that's not what you're saying man down for. You're saying it kind of as an alarm, like you say. So something, it could just be made up, which is essentially what man down, I mean, it's not made up like it's used in real life, but something kind of or so that I would be inclined to do just a hand straight up, because a lot of LARPers already know visually that can be quite like an out of character kind of sign as well. Because that's sometimes used, isn't it?
Yeah.
Character. So something a bit more kind of like violent, so straight up. And then there's a sign that you can add, which looks like this. And if you do it with your writing hand, it looks like this. But I was thinking that up. This means pain or injury or hurt or that kind of. It means all of those words that mean pain.
Yeah.
So if you do this or if you do this, and it just means that somebody's been hurt. Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah. Because that's, like you say, that's conveying the alarm and the issue.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly.
So I'm sort of imagining the usage of this would be if you've just seen somebody fall and hurt themselves, you would want to vocalize man down and do the sign, and that way, that way you're communicating to everybody on the field at the same time. Yeah, absolutely. That's really good. Where do we go from there? Well, similarly, I could see it being used in the same way, but some LARPs may just use the word stop or stop the game. However, when that's used, it's not always used for first aid incidents. It may be for other issues that are going on. Some people use it as if they need to break OC, say for a mental health issue. So it's not a man down. You don't need a first aider, but you do need to stop what is happening. This is not good. Back away. Or people may use it to stop a scene because they need to rearrange it or to move it for safety issues and things like that. So I would presume that there is a sign for stop, but how would you adapt it for LARP? I'm just cleaning my glasses because I can't see. Now there's just blurriness.
So I can sign anything, and you wouldn't.
You could, yeah. I'd go. That's very good.
I would. Obviously, there's a few signs in actual BSL that means stop. So this means stop, or this means stop. It's a very visual stop. But for LARP, I really like the sign this. The timeout sign.
Oh yeah.
I've seen that used as a non-verbal signal.
I've seen that for others. Yes.
Yeah, and I really like just using that because it's an OC sign that it's an OC gesture. Sorry, that hearing people know generally. It's one less that you have to learn, kind of thing. It's
that makes sense.
Almost for a lot of people, just be like,
Yeah, and that's something which is familiar in sign language as well.
It is in as much as it's a gesture.
Okay.
In Western community or like in global sort of gesture culture, it's a lot of people know what this means anyway.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Although the stop as well is quite very visual
as well.
There might be some places which use some games which use that as a hand gesture, or just I think for some people it's just a natural.
Right, absolutely.
Again, it's another gesture which a lot of people are just habitually use. Yeah, that's good. So two terms we've been using frequently throughout this are OC and IC, which are out of character and in character. I know some people say OOC instead of OC, but we all understand each other when we're saying it. So out of character and in character, or OC, IC. How would we?
So with the person that I signed for at Empire, they do use BSL, but their command of the English language is very good. So we've actually been signing exactly the words, which I don't actually like, but so kind of character, sort of out of character. But so the kind of character is character,
Yeah.
You make a little strip down your middle, and this is your character. This is also the sign for role, like my role in this game, or my role in this company, or whatever role. Also things like personality as well. So it's basically all those words that mean like characterization, or your role, or your inside you. The sign for character. If you do it, if you're not talking about yourself, you can do it out here. You can sort of do the person that that character or that person is really the same sign. So we've been signing kind of in character. You just do like in character or out, like out of character.
Get out of character.
Out of character, that person is my friend, but in character, they're not. But again, like I said, this is because the person that I sign with, these are just words that, I think we signed it, the first time it came up, I signed it like that, sort of in a rush, and it's kind of just stuck. I do also sign OC and IC. These are just the things about letters, so OC and then IC.
Yeah.
And to be honest, a lot of the time, these are terms that I'm just thinking that these are the terms you would generally only use in an OC context.
Yeah.
You might, in the game, you might be like out of. I also like to use this as like out of character, blah 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 blah, or I can't, if you're talking about OCIC, you've already broken immersion. You're not talking as your character anymore.
Right.
And so
that's true.
Yeah. So a lot in that situation, what you sign, there are other ways that you can sign it. So out. Oh, this is another sign for out that I sign out. Out. So it's like you're pointing to out the window, like out of character. And then those signs are probably what you would use if you were out of character talking about it, like we are now, and I'm signing and I say, oh, in character this person is, I probably wouldn't sign in character because the sign in is a very literal meaning, the sign. I would probably sign in the game.
Right.
This person is whatever in the game.
Yeah.
Or it's like maybe their character is whatever, and but because the terms OC and IC are so ubiquitous in the LARP community, or OOC, those are probably English words that any BSL user would just learn. The OC, IC, they would use that probably.
So the other times I would think of that really being used would be when a referee was directing people, perhaps, or talking about in character and out of character rooms or areas.
Again, sort of in character or in the game. And then, but really, another sign is I sign like this sign for really, and I like really or very, and so I do it with like a face that means like, oh, in character we're like those are really rich for those women, but really, like his face is very like out, but in our like real life. So there's a lot of, it's called non-manual features in sign languages, where it's not just the shapes on your hands, it's the whole body that can convey a lot of information. So I'm like, actually, I think that feels quite natural to do. I can't remember if I've actually done it, but whatever. So
I think they make a lot of sense. They're all the ones I'd written down. Are there any terms, sort of not Empire specific terms, but sort of general LARP terms that you can think of, which you're like, oh wait, no, I needed to come up with a sign for this, or this is a really common one which people should be aware of the sign for?
Trying to think. I can't think of anything that's not game specific, or the I mean, I think those are the only words that I can think of that are quite generic across different systems, but yeah.
How about referee? That's the one that just comes to mind.
Yeah, that's a good one actually. The ref. What have I signed for it? It's not a lot of. We've not come in contact with a lot of refs at Empire, so I don't even know if I've signed it. I think I finger spelt it because that's how that's how rarely I've talked about it. REF, ref, REF. Or I mean, to create a sign for it, I might sign something like ref. So this is a sign you do 2 fingers like across your arm, like an armband.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a sign that means staff.
Okay. Yeah.
Or it's also been used to mean like security because they have the armband. This sign actually means a bunch of things. But staff really.
But yeah, I can see that making sense.
So you need to get a ref, and then that because this is rarely going to be like an IC sign for and then
that's good.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like battle and all that, but like that's quite system specific, like not system battles. Lots of them do, not all of them.
That's cool.
What about things like like NPCs or monsters as we call them? Yeah. So NPC, I would spell them NPC. And if they're any geek worth their salt, they'll know what that means. No, but like a lot of people who LARP might know what the letters NPC means as well. But otherwise, at Empire, so a lot of people call NPC crew monsters.
Yeah.
Even if they're not like monsters.
Yeah.
So I've signed crew, but I've also signed monster. But then the person I signed for, when they sign back, they sign monster because that's the word that they, because they're following English, closely. So they sign monster, even though it's not like a monster, but monster, crew, same staff, or NPC. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's good actually. I think I was wondering about that because I know it can be a bit confusing, especially for new LARPers.
Yeah.
When we're like, go and speak to Monster.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, they're not always playing monsters. Sometimes they're playing nice people.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're a literal shark which will eat you. But sometimes they're just a nice person.
But yeah, talking about, I think that I think I've just remembered when that's come up, and it's when we're talking about monstering the battles at Empire, where you play on the other side as NPC characters. So we call that monstering, and like I think I've signed monstering and been like, that was a rubbish sign, and then I kind of explained it, and then and then NPCs or monster, and so
No, that's cool.
Basically, I make up signs when I need them, and then I forget what I use.
It's very fluid, I think.
It is. It's a very flexible language.
And sort of like I said at the start as well, I think that's something which it's good to remind people that there are very few, if only one LARP interpreter in the UK at the moment, and that is Haplocke. There may be other people signing at games, but currently we're only aware of the one person acting as an IC interpreter. And that means that you have developed...
I'm aware of some... There's definitely other signers at Empire.
Yes,
certainly.
Yeah, there definitely are.
Yeah. And some to quite a high level, but, they just haven't... They're not doing the interpreter thing, but so they're out there, LARPers who sign.
So, which is good. That's really good to know. Need to get you all together.
Yeah. So have a little group, LARPers who sign.
But yeah, it does mean that these are very new uses of signs or very newly created signs, and what might work for Hap and people at Empire and the person who Hap interprets for might not work for everybody else, but this is a good starting point and might give people a bit of guidance as to what might work for them. Just for a bit of fun, do you want to give us a couple of your favourite Empire-specific signs, which are things that you've more or less had to make up completely?
Sure, let's do it. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to do, wait, let me think. I'm going to do 2 lineages and a nation. 2 lineages, 2 nations.
Okay. So I'll just explain. So Empire is a fantasy setting in the UK LARP system, or it's a fantasy game rather, and it has created various magical changes to humans, so which gives them very different physical features, and these are referred to as lineages. So you can have a lot of different lineages within the game, similar to being to different fantasy races. Is probably the closest way, and it gives people different features and may give them different ways of behaving or different magical attunement. That's a word. Anyway, I'll let you get back on now that we know what a lineage is.
Yeah. So I'll talk about one. No, I'll talk about 2. No, I'll talk about one. Yeah. So the one I want to talk about is the one that's called a changeling in game. So in Empire, one of the lineages is where you're touched by one of the specific magics, and the lineage is called a changeling, and they all have different names. So they're all words that, like we've said before, they're all words that kind of exist in the English language. Most of them, all of them, I think all of them.
They're all known to the English language. You know, a lot of them are from mythology and things like that.
Or like their historic words, or their ancient words and things like that. But they're things like briar, you know, which is the word, and things like Cambion or Draugier. Those are words that aren't really used. But this one that I want to do is called changeling, and changeling is like a known word.
Yeah.
But the name sign for people who are changeling look like this. Changeling. Oh, can you see it? I'll duck down a bit. Changeling. You don't have to duck down to do it. I'm just ducking down so my hands are in the. Just shuffle down a bit. Changeling. And it's where your hands are in your head. And this is a sign, out of character, in sort of British Sign Language. This is a sign called deer, antlers. And it's because changeling sometimes will grow antlers. That's their visual kind of change that they go through, is they have antlers. Sometimes, they'll also have like pointed ears, like fawn ears. Some changelings won't have antlers and they'll just have ears. So sometimes the sign for changeling will be this. Changeling. You can do a little ears. Changeling. So that's a lineage that will have 2 signs. But in character already, you know, we're already talking about, you need to go see whoever, and this links to what you said before about adding my own sort of, not opinions, but adding my own touch to it. And it's, if somebody says, you need to go see whoever, and I know who that is, I might say, I know them, they're a changeling, or I know them, they're a changeling, if I know what they look like.
Yeah.
Another one, so the Cambion, I will do the same. The Cambion is where you have sort of ram's horns, which is, you know, different antlers. And the sign then for generically Cambion looks like this, Cambion. So you need a little thing, you trace some horns. But again, they come in all different sizes. Some of them are like little baby horn. Or some of them are like, he's Cambion.
Yes.
They're just like, Cambion. Or they might be like Cambion. They might be like, this one's come off, but so they have one. But whatever. So it's really, really flexible.
So it gives you the chance to personalize it
Absolutely.
And that's really cool.
Yeah. So the lineage signs can vary depending on what it looks like, basically.
Yeah.
And then this is like another sign that's been mutated already by like players on the field, which I love. Like it just the organic nature of sort of language in the hands and the mouths of people. So one of the countries is called Marches.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that the name, or was that just and so people, and in Empire, as with lots of systems, all the different nations have a very distinctive look in terms of their costume and their look and feel, which has been really helpful in creating name signs for them, because we often just sign what they look like, or what the look and feel is reminiscent of. So one of the other nations called Varushka, their look is very, in a word, Russian. Like there's a lot of like,
there is an influence, certainly.
Yeah, there's an influence of like winter furs and embroidery. So their in-character name sign, the sign for Varushka or Varushkin, is the OC sign for Russia. We've used that because, visually, Varushka,
Yeah.
That isn't the one I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is marches. And the marches, we decided to have this sign. It looks like this. Marches. Or marches. You can just use three fingers, like 3 fingers for M, marches, or if you kind of forget, or just use your whole hand, that's also fine, because this is reminiscent. They all wear these cute little cloth caps.
Yes, they wear coifs and
and little like, they look, what are they called, those caps they wear under like helmets and stuff? Do you know the one I mean?
Oh, I can't remember now.
Really, and they have a lot of the men wear that, and but like they all wear little top caps. So this is a sign. And the first time that I taught this, amongst the group that I was teaching, there was a person who was from a different nation, but they randomly asked me, "Oh, what's the sign for potato?" And I was like, "Oh, I'll teach you sign for potato. It looks like this." And then they were like, "This is the new sign for the marches," because in character,
they really like potatoes.
Nations called them potato people because they really like potatoes.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So
yeah. That's true. But Dave, I can vouch as I crew Empire. I'm on the admin side of it, so I deal a lot with players out of character, and we do end up having to deal with queries relating to potatoes from marches quite a lot.
It's a legit thing. They're totally proud of it, and that's the thing, that this person was from a different nation. They're like, right, this is the official sign, but I'm going to go and be like, your sign name is this potato. So they want to show them like, your sign name is potato, and they're like, oh great.
Potato. That's lovely.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, yes, own it. That was so cute. But I just love that immediately there was this like icy kind of racism kind of coming in, affecting language. I love it.
Yeah. Oh no, that's really good, and I like that adaptability and how it relates to sign names as well and things.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, I think that's everything for this. No, it's been lovely.
I waffled on a lot. I'm so
no. It's really helpful because I think understanding the context behind it and the reasoning is important, and it helps people understand deaf culture a bit more. And I think we need to understand that if we are going to be more hospitable to deaf and signing players in particular. So that's really good. So thank you very much for your help. I'm going to practice those signs because we have got. I'm recording this on the Wednesday before the final Empire event of the year. So I'm going to be practicing those for the next couple of days, and I hope other people are able to take them away and either learn them and use them, or learn them and adapt them to their own system or within their own signing community. And just we can make games a slightly more welcoming and interactive place for people who sign. So thank you very much for your help. It's been very nice. Very nice talking to you.
You too.
And so before I go, I just want to say I have my lovely Access LARP mug, which I've been drinking tea out of during this. So if you would like your own Access LARP mug, they are available on Redbubble. And I will put a link to the Redbubble shop in the description of the video. And I'm not sure if there's anything else I need to link to. That's fine. But yes, if you would like to hear the full interview and the full chat I did with Haplocke, where we talked a bit more about being a LARP interpreter and about sign language in LARP communities, that video will be available to patrons, probably in the £5 and up or $5 and up category. So if you become a patron over on Patreon, that will be available for you, and I will put a link to the Access LARP Patreon again in the description, and a transcript of both the chat and of this sign session will be available on the Access LARP website, and once that's available, I'll link that in the description. So thank you very much to Hap and to anybody who's been signing along while watching this and learning. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you find it useful, and we can work together to make LARP more accessible for everybody. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.